Great, thank you very much, and good morning, everybody. A pleasure to be to be with you. I'm actually on the campus this morning, so it's really great to be in Scotland and to be delivering this talk from the university as well. And it's the university that I want to start in, really, and to talk to you about one of Edinburgh Napier's alumni, Neil Poulton. Neil is one of the people that almost frames my talk today. He is one of Britain's foremost industrial and product designers. He's very relevant because he is an Edinburgh Napier University alumni, indeed inducted into the university's Hall of Fame, no less, which is a great thing to have. And what I admire about him is that he specialises in design of deceptively simple-looking mass-produced objects. And in many respects, it's those deceptively simple-looking mass-produced objects which really espouses what we need to be doing for the net zero economy. That we have to be making solutions, products, ways of working, ways of living that are an improvement on what we have today, but also which are zero carbon. We don't want to go back. We don't want to be having a worse quality of life from a net zero economy. And so that's why Neil's talk is always something that, and Neil's approach is always something that is in my mind in thinking about the solutions that we have. So in this talk, what I want to cover is three things. First of all, I want to talk about how net zero will have a profound impact on all of us. Secondly, how that will happen fast, much faster than Scotland's target to be net zero by 2045 and the UK's commitment to be net zero by 2050. And thirdly, that is a tremendous opportunity for organisations and us all, in addition to government. So let's go. I've got some slides to show. So let's go to those now, and we can talk. We can talk through each of those, and I'll go straight into my first slide. So first of all, let's think about where we are today. So as I've said, the UK has committed to being a net zero economy by 2050. So effectively, what net zero means is near enough eliminating the use of fossil fuels. It near enough means eliminating emissions of greenhouse gas emissions. In Scotland by 2045, in the UK by 2050. So pretty much taking that to zero and then where there is residual emissions, because it is absolutely impossible to get rid of them, say from some industrial processes, say methane emissions from some landfill sites, for example, then that will be then netted off by take-up schemes. So carbon capture storage schemes, for example, such as that being proposed up on Grangemouth, or by great sort of uptake of woodland planting or of peat reforestation and the like, and lots of that going on, for example, up in Stirling, which is an authority that we've been working with to help really get those strong strategies in place. And you know what? If you look at the graph on the left-hand side, we have been making progress. The UK's economy now emits round about half of the greenhouse gas emissions that it did in 1990, which is pretty spectacular. And our quality of life has gone up substantially, and our GDP has gone up substantially over that time. The sticker, though, is that the majority of that cut has come from the power sector, and you can see that blue line coming down very, very fast in that graph on the left. Other areas, transport, buildings, and the like, have made less fast progress. And so that's the challenge, and that's the opportunity for the next 25 to 30 years, is how do we get that to zero? And the key thing on that is that we cannot just leave that all to 2044 in Scotland or 2050 for the whole of the UK and then flick a switch and hey presto, we're done. There are things called carbon budgets set by the UK's Committee on Climate Change, and you can see here that in the graph on the right, just earlier this year, the Committee on Climate Change set out its sixth carbon budget for that period in the mid-2030s. And so the committee then sets out, this is the trajectory to the net zero economy that the UK has to be on. And so you can see we've made good progress so far. We have less progress forecast to meet those carbon budgets out to the future. And so there is both a lot of work to do, and this will happen fast over the coming years. And if we just bring that to life, let's then take a look at transport, and let's take a look at buildings. Transport, something that is dear to our heart. WSP, we design a lot of transport infrastructure. And myself personally, I've just had the pleasure of working with England's national highways to develop their really strong net zero strategy, which is a tremendous piece of work that that company has signed up to. But the key thing to note for transport as a whole is that transport is both the largest source of greenhouse gas emissions in the UK, and also is one that has stubbornly remained pretty level over the past 20 to 30 years. So cars have got more efficient. As individuals, we are travelling a little bit less each year on year, and especially the last year. But what we've seen also, though, is that cars are getting heavier, and also there is just a bigger population as well, so more people who are driving as well. Just in the course of events, we will see that the cost of electric vehicles will come down very, very fast. So we expect in 2025 it will be cheaper to buy an electric car than a petrol or a diesel vehicle. And then there is also legislative arrangements that government has set out south of the border in the Transport Decarbonisation Plan, and that will put in place some really fast legislative frameworks. So if you just think about what some of those are, in 2030 you won't be able to buy a petrol or a diesel vehicle. In 2035 it's proposed that you won't be able to buy a hybrid. So you could imagine by 2040 or shortly after that, our entire fleet will be an electric fleet. There, of course, will be a big uptake in active travel as well, walking, cycling, bus back better programmes to enhance public transport across the UK. But then some also are some of the bigger challenges as well, not just in vehicles, but also in things like trucks. So trucks, the vast majority of freight is moved on our roads today. Yes, it's easy to be able to say, well, put it all onto rail. There just simply is not the capacity to do that. Even if you come south of the border, HS2, that, for example, will take between 1% and 3% of traffic off the strategic road network. So the solution to a zero carbon transport has to be decarbonising fleet as much as just getting everything onto rail. And HGVs are the biggest challenge. Transport Decarbonisation Plan proposes that by 2040, that will be a phase-out date for diesel oil-fired trucks. How that then manifests itself is that batteries, is that hydrogen networks, is it catenary networks or scale electrics tracks in roads? Those are the big questions. Those are the big innovation opportunities at the moment. And if you think that things like catenary networks are fanciful, well, Sweden has just said it's going to be building about 3,000 kilometres of catenary network as part of its trials. There is already a network in place in Germany that Siemens are working on, and there is Treasury funding just getting up and running this year to really innovate that in the UK. So there's a lot to do in that area. And that's even before you then get to things like maritime, of course, as well, which is important for Scotland, absolutely. And then if we take the same thing for buildings. So buildings, again, we're decarbonising our electricity. again, Boris Johnson, you might have seen the headlines this week, has said that the UK will be 100% fossil free for electricity generation by 2035. That's a huge ambition and a huge change, and let's give government credit for that. There is still a huge knotty issue about how do we deal with building heat. So again, already we are seeing that that government is ratcheting up energy efficiency minimum standards for our homes and our buildings. With things called energy performance certificates, that's sort of under the radar screen. But if you just want the implication of that, both British Land and Land Securities lost 5% of their share price earlier this summer when it was that research was published that showed the extent of the cost of refurbishing their portfolios to meet those proposed energy efficiency standards. So those are going to happen at scale. What we will also see, you will see in this graph, that again, government proposals by 2025, all new houses will not be fitted with gas boilers. They will be heat pump ready or other zero carbon heating technologies as well. And Committee on Climate Change has then proposed that by 2033 that will be a phase down date for sale of gas boilers and the like in commercial and also in homes as well. So this will have profound impact. And the key thing and the key point to note is that we need to do that in a way which is an improvement, which is better, which is not more expensive than the other options. So doing something similar in terms of the innovation pipeline that we see for electric vehicles, and doing that for how we heat our homes and also our office buildings. And there's some of the innovation opportunities that you see. And you know what? If you think it's a slow moving area, just understand that this will happen very, very fast. Nigel Topping, who is the UN's climate champion, one of the areas that he talks about a lot is the exponential transition. And let's just consider the electric vehicle for a moment in that context. It was only 5 years ago that mobility experts were saying worldwide we would still be driving around in petrol or diesel cars in the 2080s. And yet, in just 5 years, now those same experts have seen the pace of the transition, have seen the pace of innovation, and they now project that by 2035, the global economy will be moving very, very fast towards electric vehicles and electric mobility. So in just 5 years, the experts have taken 50 years off the electric vehicle transition. And that in many respects is driven by the exponential reduction in the cost of batteries and the exponential advancement in those zero carbon areas. So for you can see here the price of lithium ion batteries. That's a log scale in terms of the price. That has reduced 20% every year for a decade. And this is what we mean by the exponential transition, that it might seem that this is a long time away. It might seem that this is very difficult to do. But we will see this happening very, very fast. And the opportunity is to be on the front foot for that, or the opportunity or the challenge is then that you think it's a very, very slow transition. But that exponential transition is exactly as it says, an exponential transition. So we can see that in pretty much, for those of you that are business owners, anticipate the same, anticipate where that trend will come, anticipate how you can be on the front foot as well. And as we come to COP26, this is really important because everybody is talking about how COP26 is a watershed moment. Absolutely, the attention is on Glasgow. What we will find in COP26 and in Glasgow in a month's time is, to be honest with you, much of what we will see at COP26 is going to be decided ahead. The main thing that we are looking for from COP26 is for countries to be upping what is called nationally determined contributions. And so that is governments saying, this is how we will aim to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions over the coming decades in order to achieve a net zero economy for ourselves. The UK has already made its NDC. Many countries have already made their nationally determined contributions. It's good news in as much as the commitments that they have already made is one ahead of their commitments that they made at Paris. So that's the start of that exponential transition that I was talking about. The bad news is we are still well off a 1.5 degree trajectory, which countries have committed to, and which really is very much what we should be aiming for as a global economy. So we will expect to see all of these NDCs made ahead of COP26. The one that is massively important is China's NDC. We don't know what that is yet. We can speculate, but quite simply, we don't know. And that's critically important because China emits around about just over a quarter of the UK's greenhouse gas emissions. So we will know that in advance of COP26. Much of what we will see during COP26 is maybe a wrangling over some of the minutiae. But to be honest with you, it's not like the sort of the Paris COP or the COP in Copenhagen some years before. The bit, though, that I do expect will become much more important and will be much to the fore is, what are other organisations going to be doing? What is known as non-state actors. And if I come outside the jargon, non-state actors are universities, they are business, they are cities. So they are basically not the national governments. And what becomes absolutely clear to me is that government can take some of the heavy lifting on this, but absolutely they cannot do it all. What the opportunity is, through things like the UN's Race to Zero program that WSP is very active in supporting, through the commitments and the innovations that we all make. The opportunity is there for us as non-state actors to really up the ambition, to be on the front foot for taking fast climate action. And as part of that, setting up what, again, the UN will call ambition loops. And those ambition loops are really the business and universities and cities, if we make strong and ambitious statements and talk and set out very ambitious goals for net zero and innovation and show that this is what we want, that then gives the politicians confidence that this is something that is a trajectory that is desired and wanted for. And so therefore they are more likely to set those ambitious standards and ambitious regulations. And so you understand that then gives the context that then that brings everybody else up. That then gives the opportunity and the framework for business and universities to innovate further. And so that's really why it's so important, as much as business growth and differentiation, why it is so important for all of us and all of you on this talk to be on the front foot yourselves for this. So what does that mean? I've got set out here the actions that I think we should be focusing on for business, for universities, and for us all as individuals. As was mentioned right at the start of this this talk in the introduction, in WSP we have a program called Future Ready. Future Ready is really goes to the heart of what we are about as a business. So if I think about the work that we are doing in Scotland, across the UK, our 50,000 people across the world, we are designing infrastructure, we are designing buildings, we are developing long-term strategies for our clients. And those have an implication and impact for decades, sometimes hundreds of years. So if we think about some of our tall buildings like the Shard, only 4 skyscrapers have ever been taken down in a planned way worldwide. So when we work on those tall buildings, we can imagine that they are there for as long as we could possibly imagine, really. And you know what? The key thing to note for that is if we're designing rail networks and the like, they will be there for at least 100 years. That's well into a net zero economy. That's well into a climate changed world. That's well into different needs for the users of those buildings and those transport networks. And so with Future Ready, what we have done is we have seen the future. We provide lots of purposeful research on that. And then we challenge and we inspire all of our 50,000 people to use their cleverness to design to that future as well as for today. It gives peace of mind to our clients. It gives us tremendous purpose as a business, which helps us attract great people. And just from a business growth perspective, Future Ready has helped us win hundreds of millions of pounds worth of work just by setting us apart from our competitors. So it's great business for us. And specifically on net zero, we have just this year made a commitment that we will halve the carbon footprint of the advice and the designs that we give to our clients. And that itself, it's a unique commitment. We are the only firm, bar one, in our sector that has made that ambitious commitment to halve our carbon footprint from our advice and our designs in 10 years. It's a bold commitment. Do we have all of the answers? Absolutely not. Is it galvanizing really fast action? Is it responding to the challenges that our clients and our clients' clients are facing? Is it putting WSP on the forefront of really driving our ambition to be a leading business in Scotland, in the UK, and across the world? Absolutely. And so that's really why we have made that strong commitment. And so, without saying that we have all of the answers or that we are the role model, so to speak, in WSP, for business, the opportunity is to think for the long term as well as for the short term. As executive leaders, those of you for those of you that work in business, the world is full of urgent things to fill your day, from meeting the numbers to responding to emails and the like. Yet the role of leadership within business is to think for the long term, to get out of the here and now, and also to plot a course for your organization and your business into the medium and into the long term. And whichever way you look at it, net zero and the transition to a zero carbon economy will have a profound impact on pretty much every business that works today, from a service business and the advice that you give through to your fleets, through to the materials that you are using, through to the demands of your customers. And that has to be the opportunity, surely, that this can be an opportunity for innovation, to understand what are the key regulatory dates that will affect your organization and your customers, to understand really what your competitors are doing. Now is still the time that we can and you can keep ahead, but to really set out a trajectory, be bold, be ambitious, and to see zero carbon, net zero, as an opportunity for fast innovation to respond to this challenge. And then if you just want to put that into a framework, I would challenge you to join the 6,000 businesses, universities, cities that have joined the UN's Race to Zero programme, to be taking fast action, to sign up to that, and to be putting a really public face onto your commitment. If I come to universities, I see that the opportunity, again, is to think about how will net zero transform the courses and the skills that your students and prospective students will need. Congratulations to Edinburgh Napier University for being in the process of updating your environmental sustainability strategy. It's great to see you and see the university hard at work on that. The key challenge for much of what we see with net zero is that will require new skills and it will require the adaptation of existing courses to respond to a net zero future. If we think about new skills, that's opportunities for new courses, universities or businesses, the opportunity to innovate faster than competitors to respond to that. I'm also very struck by last week, the International Standards Organization announced a declaration called the London Declaration. And the London Declaration is a commitment that every international standard that ISO passes into the future will be in alignment with a 1.5 degree net zero economy. Now, I was very struck with that because that, in terms of transforming and delivering fast action, ISO standards have a global impact. So this is a tremendous piece of innovation. I find myself wondering whether universities, whether Edinburgh Napier University might look to maybe even work with WSP, because as a big employer of graduates, where there is an opportunity to have something similar for university course providers, to commit formally that instead of a broad aspiration, that universities will commit to align all of their courses from the civil, electrical, structural engineers that WSP commissions to the design teams like the ones that Neil Poulton himself went through at Edinburgh Napier University, to even into those arts areas, and that there is a formal commitment for net zero. Because to be honest with you, with the scale of the net zero transition, there is absolutely no point teaching traditional, old school, fossil fuel based courses. We have to get on the front foot, and we have to do that fast, and universities have to be in the lead on this. And then lastly, as individuals, all of us have the opportunity, and indeed the leadership opportunity, to be on the front foot for this. If you are a student, you will be the leaders of the future. If you are a business leader, then you are the leaders now. We all are individuals. We all have an opportunity to make a difference. And I would say, if you're listening to this keynote, you want to be making a difference in this. So I would say, first of all, from a personal perspective, one of my personal recommendations is read and learn voraciously. There is so much in this area that we can learn, so much still to learn on this. I would also say, if you are a student, make sure that you are thinking to the future. Challenge your lecturers, challenge your learning, so that you are anticipating that net zero economy that will happen fast. And lastly, just understand that nobody is necessarily going to do this for you. Within WSP, I was really proud to launch Future Ready and to see this take shape to be a golden thread through our global strategy from a standing start. That took a lot of work. It still is requiring a lot of work, and so is our net zero ambitions as well. The same also with the Pledge to Net Zero program that we established for the environmental consulting industry to challenge our industry to be a leader for our own greenhouse gas emissions. Relevant to WSP as part of us is the world's largest environmental consultancy practice. That's just a question of getting on with it, and a question of saying, well, yes, that is something. We are going to do something about that. And so don't wait for others just to do this. Don't think that whatever stage in your career others are going to do it. The opportunity is for you to be a leader yourself. And you will see at the last piece on this slide is that there has to be a plan for this. We all have good aspirations. We all want to make a difference. But I am under no illusion that when I go back to my desk at the end of this conference, I will have an enormous amount of urgent stuff that needs to be addressed right away. And the reality is that good intentions on their own rarely succeed. The reality is that we have to have a plan. There has to be a structured piece of work from an exec team down to individuals to really get on the front foot and to be having a plan. We don't have all of the answers, so don't think it has to be absolutely perfect, but to be making a start. And to understand that you have to be brave, to understand that to be a net zero economy is a step out of our comfort zone. It is something which we need to be doing differently because we simply do not have all of the answers now. But if we get that exponential innovation, we get that ambition loops, then, ladies and gentlemen, we will deliver the net zero economy and we will make progress and the trajectory becomes clear. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. I do appreciate almost half an hour is a long time to listen to a talk, but I warmly congratulate Edinburgh Napier University on running these 2 days of focus on COP26. I do hope that it is a useful and empowering event for you. And I'll just leave you with those 3 key messages from my talk. So first of all, net zero will have a profound impact on every part of our economy, from universities, businesses, and us as individuals. It will happen fast, whether you want to be part of it or not, and I hope you will be. And then lastly, it is the fast action now as we come away from this conference that will deliver that net zero economy. It will provide business growth. It will provide differentiation. That will provide businesses, universities for growth, and above all, will set us all up for strong, purposeful, purpose-led careers. As the hashtag on Edinburgh Napier's University website for this event says, hashtag get on with it. That's the challenge. I hope that's been a useful half an hour, and I'm really looking forward to the other talks and the panels over the course of the 2 days. Thank you very much.